Join Aegis Motor Adventures as they ride the TransAmerica Trail through New Mexico's back roads. You won't want to miss this backcountry trek through desert and high plains. Here's Mike with the day's intro. Hey everyone, welcome to Aegis Motor Adventures. Well, this is our last day on the Shadow of the Rockies TransAmerica Trail portion. I'm looking forward to it, but this will conclude this section. Join us as we go through the last little bit of northeast New Mexico. As you can see as we head out of town here, Logan isn't much bigger than Fort Sumner was. These are really nice small towns and had great accommodations, but they don't have much infrastructure to support that. The TransAmerica Trail takes you through an area of the gravel hills, but it would be more aptly named the Sand Pit. So that kind of gives you a little bit of hint of what's to come. The first set of roads that we're on here as we kind of head to the west-northwest out of Logan are actually in pretty good shape. But you'll notice that there's certain locations where there's sand drifts along the edges, or the edges look kind of soft compared to the hard-packed center portion. That's going to be the theme of the day going forward, but we'll also get on roads that are much, much worse. This was a really beautiful area, and there were quite a bit of hills in the background that we were heading towards. So that was really interesting, and there actually were some ranches back in here, and so it's not like it's super remote. This is one of only 2 or 3 man-made ponds that we saw that had water in it in our entire trip. This was kind of unusual. We saw this bridge section sitting out in the middle of this field. Not sure how they got it here or why they put it here, but we did see another bridge that was very similar to that construction. Here's the bridge I was referring to. Obviously, this one is still intact, but they've kind of replaced it here by just putting a piece of concrete where the stream goes through and just running the road straight through. A common theme here in New Mexico was a road running right through a ranch. This particular ranch here actually isn't too far off the highway, and it looked like there might have been a school or something there at one time. The TransAmerica Trail kind of backtracks on the highway, and then you head east-northeast again after having gone west-northwest for a while. There were quite a few ranches relatively near the highway, but the further we got back in there, the fewer and fewer things that we saw except for cattle. I don't know if you can tell from the clips, but the roads here are getting very, very sandy and gravelly, and it was deep in certain areas. This is obviously windrift sand that had not been graded off, and for a long section here, it becomes just a total and complete sand pit. Because the sand off the sides was really deep, we're trying to pick our line so that we're running through areas with the least amount of sand buildup so that we have some hard pack underneath and we don't lose traction. In the middle of the sand pit, we decided to stop and take a little bit of break. We didn't see anybody while we were back here, so it made for a nice break. But it was really getting warm and hot out, and you could definitely feel the heat. It was starting to get about, I think, 86 degrees outside. which made it just a little bit toasty in the sand. Here the sand is really getting deep, and we've slowed up just a little bit because the front wheel wanted to wash out. But we get through it okay. We just had to take our time. And this went on for quite a few miles. The sand was really fine and was almost more like a powder. Our Australian friends might be labeling something like this bull dust. Here we are once again having to go through a herd of cattle. It's pretty easy to get through them, actually. You just have to move real slowly. You don't want one of them to bump into you and knock you over because they are really big. But usually if you just go real slow, they'll just slowly but surely kind of move off the road so that you can get through. The calves are the ones that are the most unpredictable. Even the highways out here are open range. We spent a lot of time on the roads with sand on them because we slowed way up. So we ate up a lot of the morning just going down the sand roads. It was a beautiful area, but when the TransAmerica Trail pops out onto this highway, it makes it kind of nice because you can go just a little bit quicker. I apologize, but the sound in these particular clips was so corrupted, I don't know exactly what happened. I tried to correct it in production, but it just didn't work very well. So what I was saying here is that we had a change of plans because we ate up so much time on the roads that had the sand on them that we decided to go ahead and go to Clayton, New Mexico, and skip over a small section of the TransAmerica Trail, get some lunch, and then we would head back out on the TransAmerica Trail and finish up the day. However, it wasn't quite so simple because we had to ride about probably 50 miles on the pavement to get to Clayton, and then we had to ride another 48 miles back to pick up the TransAmerica Trail. So we were going to get after it here and get back on the road. The decision to skip a little bit of the TransAmerica Trail wasn't taken very lightly. We didn't know if we were going to encounter more sand on the roads. There was a high probability of that because we didn't know what condition they would be in. And we wanted to make sure that we weren't out in the backcountry after dark. So the section we picked to run looked like it would probably be pretty good and we'd be able to get it in before dark, and that turned out to be correct. And it was still the same area, the same scenery probably, but just without any difficult roads. Isn't this a cool homestead here? And it looks like they took some kind of old building, at least made it look like an old train station building, and turned it into a house. I think that's pretty cute. These were the first sheep that we encountered on our whole trip. It's not unusual to see sheep out west, but it was the first ones we had seen. And here we are going over this stream here that actually had water in it. Earlier, all our trek through New Mexico really didn't have any water in any of the streams we crossed. Like in other clips you've seen me make, I like to document these old homesteads. It gives you a little bit of a glimpse of what it was like yesteryear. Here we are rolling into the small town of Greenville, New Mexico. The TransAmerica Trail continues on from here for just a short section where it intersects where we had already ridden through on our trek to Trinidad, Colorado, where we cut the corner. And that was on a previous episode. So if you'd like to see that, check that episode out. The correct episode would be episode 118, and it's also labeled the TransAmerica Trailer TAT number 42. Clayton is a really nice town, and it's a great place to stay. There's a little bit more here to do and see, and so this is not a bad place to camp out for the TransAmerica Trail. Well, that's it for New Mexico. Here's Mike with the final day's conclusion of the TransAmerica Trail in New Mexico. Wow, what an awesome adventure we've had here. We just finished up the Shadow of the Rockies through New Mexico portion of the TransAmerica Trail. We've been trying to do this for a long time. The first time I crashed, you might have heard me say that. Second time it was over 110 degrees here, and it just wouldn't have been any much fun to do it in that kind of heat. But we got it done. And I hope you really like this series because New Mexico is beautiful. And it came with a few challenges along the way. If you're interested in our TransAmerica Trail journeys, we've already gone as far as the Atlantic coast to Trinidad, Colorado. If you want to watch the whole series, go to the playlist and you can watch them in order. I think I've probably got one of the most comprehensive set of videos on the TransAmerica Trail that's out there. Well, if you like this video, please give me the big thumbs up and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Take care. Well, our journey wasn't quite over yet. We had to hit the highway and get back to Amarillo, Texas. It was a pretty quick ride because it was all on the highway. So here we are, getting ready to load stuff back up. Well, we were in for one more surprise when we got back to Amarillo with the bikes. We got the bikes loaded up all right, everything's ready to go, and I jump in the van and it won't start. Apparently, while we were gone, the battery decided to give up the ghost, and so we had to go hunt down a new battery for the van and get it started again. Luckily, that's all it was, and it made it pretty simple. Now I'm in Omaha area, Nebraska, where my daughter and son-in-law and grandson are at, and visiting them. And it went from really nice temperature to where it's snowing this morning. Pretty crazy as I sit here in the Walmart parking lot. That's the way it is.